Hello everybody, my name's Aaron, this is the 5 red lights, and let's look back on the Monaco Grand Prix. It's time for the 5 red lights.
1 light, 2 lights, 3 lights, 4 lights, 5 lights, and it's go, 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 go!
Welcome back to a brand new video then everybody, and a Monaco race review. It was heartbreak for Charles Leclerc. He was unable to take the start, having taken a fantastic pole position on Saturday. He secured the pole after his crash brought out the red flags and brought the session to an end, and he paid a massive price for it as his drive shaft was faulty on the laps to the grid. Max Verstappen inherited the effective pole position and beat Valtteri Bottas to Saint Devote and went on to win. Carlos Sainz took second place for Ferrari, and Lando Norris scored third place for McLaren. Sergio Perez, Sebastian Vettel, Pierre Gasly, Lewis Hamilton, Lance Stroll, Esteban Ocon and Antonio Giovinazzi completed the top 10. Charles wasn't the only man to suffer misfortune, as Valtteri Bottas retired after his pit stop due to the right front tyre being cross-threaded and the wheel nut refusing to come off. As a result, Max Verstappen now leads the World Championship by 4 points from Lewis Hamilton. Before I dive into my thoughts on the Monaco Grand Prix, if you enjoy this video, please leave a like and consider subscribing to the channel if you enjoy what you find here. I uploaded my Monaco and Turkey drive crate unboxing yesterday, so go and check that out. I'll leave a link up in the top of the screen. And Winning with Williams episode 6 is up as well. Go and check that out because that is a sensational race. So my thoughts on the Monaco Grand Prix: not a great race. I think that's fairly obvious, and I think it's because the cars are too advanced for the streets of Monaco. It's becoming all too clear now. If you take Monaco against Singapore, Singapore is slightly wider, and it's the relentless onslaught of corners that make it so tough to pass, and the demanding nature of the conditions and the track itself. And there was just very little in the way of drama, especially after the start. And I mean, had Charles started, we might have seen more of a battle for the win and a tighter battle at the front. But in the end, Max won easily because there was no one in his way, and he was able to take and keep track position. So it became a frustrating race to watch, made worse by the dreadful TV direction, missing the one piece of proper side-by-side action, which was such a shame. We didn't even get a replay of it. It only popped up on Twitter through F1 TV and people sharing it that way. No yellow flags, no safety car, no VSC. If things remain the same with the new regs, could it be time for Monaco to say farewell? Possibly. I get that it's a driving challenge, but the product of Formula 1 needs to be consistently good. You can't. This is the sort of race where fans will turn off because they'll see Monaco, they'll watch qualifying and assume that they're going to go on and win the race, whoever's on pole position. So a shame, but is that possible? Could it be time for Monaco to go? So as I said, Charles took a great pole position in Monaco, but Monaco bites back, and it did doubly so for Charles. Not only did he miss the chance to cement his pole position, but it caused overnight worry about his gearbox. Ferrari actually declared it fit to race before the car left the garage for the first time, but his outlaps were slow, and Charles radioed in saying the gearbox felt bad. Such a sort of heartbreaking moment, especially for a hometown guy. You know, if you see someone retiring from their home race anywhere, it sucks. But if you're on pole position and you don't even get to start the race and you're monegasque, then you know it hits you right in the feels. So I think we all felt for Charles there. And back to the garage he went. The minutes ticked by, and soon he was out of the car and out of the race. His Monaco curse striking again. He's turning into Rubens Barrichello, who I think managed one podium in '95 for Jordan in Brazil, maybe '94. I'm not so sure on that. It was definitely in the '90s because he didn't achieve anything with Ferrari because consistent bad luck. And Charles is very quickly turning into the new Rubens Barrichello with his home Grand Prix. So Leclerc's loss was Max Verstappen's gain, and now the front row was Verstappen against Bottas. It was actually Bottas who got the better start, But Verstappen was super aggressive coming across from the left-hand side of the track. And it's easy for me to say, but could Bottas have kept his foot in there and toughed it out? He wasn't quite alongside, so he would have had to be super bold, and unfortunately that's just not the way Bottas goes racing. And of course he does need the points for his own title hopes, but being beaten by Verstappen would have made his position worse anyway. And of course he wasn't to know that his race was doomed from the start because of the cross-threaded right front wheel. Had he got the lead, losing it like that would have been utterly heartbreaking for him too. So, you know, it would have just worked out exactly the same anyway. We weren't to know that though. Max led every lap bar one, I think. Sergio Perez would have taken the line just before him when he pitted. And of course, Monaco is a test of concentration, and Max lasted the course. No mistakes, and even when Carlos Sainz was closing in, he didn't panic. Took the flag with an 8.9 second winning margin and a 4-point championship lead. A massive swing of 18 points on Hamilton. When was the last time that happened to Lewis? More on him and Mercedes in a little bit. For Max though, this is new territory. How will he handle the pressure of the title fight now, being in the lead? My guess that outwardly he will be the same as he was before, but how he acts and processes those big moments will be really interesting now. If Lewis sends one down the inside of turn 1 in Baku, will Max be as aggressive as he was in, say, Spain? We'll have to wait and see, but it's a fascinating twist in this brilliant championship battle. Mercedes had a mixed day on Saturday, with Bottas being able to fire up the tyres and get a good lap in before the red flag, while Lewis Hamilton bemoaned going in the wrong direction with setup in FP3, which meant they could only muster 3rd and 7th in qualifying, and things kind of went downhill even further in the race. Leclerc's demise promoted them both a place, but bizarrely Hamilton was the first driver called in of anybody, and he lost places to Vettel and Perez, who ran the more beneficial strategy on paper and ran longer. Of course, Mercedes were hoping that they could undercut Pierre Gasly and get ahead with the fresh rubber, but the worn softs were more effective than the new hards for Pierre. This proved doubly and triply costly, as first Vettel and then Perez pulled the same trick to leapfrog the 7-time world champion. So Lewis, essentially, he would have started 7th had Leclerc started, and then he got promoted, and then he actually ended up losing a place. Had Leclerc started, he'd have finished somewhere, he'd have finished 8th, maybe 9th. Would have been a really, really costly day. So 7th is kind of better, if that makes sense. I mean, he did salvage something from the race with the fastest lap point, but that ultimately just showed how badly the weekend had gone. As a P7 and a DNF is not what we come to expect from Mercedes-Benz over the last few years. And of course, every team has bad days, and Lewis did say that the team needed to learn the lessons, and this is how teams will grow, and Toto echoed that, but it doesn't stop them hurting. And of course, as you can see, I've got a collection of Mercedes hats. I'm a Mercedes fan, I'm a Lewis Hamilton fan, so it hurts as well as a supporter of him. But this Mercedes car has proven time and time again that it is brilliant across the season. It's not just good at one circuit, and the fact that this car is a little bit kinder on its tyres than the Red Bull could pay dividends in races coming up, as it did in Spain and Portugal. But in Monte Carlo, not being able to heat up the tyres quickly enough and get the grip out of them proved fatal to Lewis's chances. Toto then said after the race the Red Bull did beat them fair and square amid the flexible wing debate, which I'm not going to get into. It's far too technical, but he did say that there would be a protest in Baku, which could throw the championship wide open again, especially if Max wins there. That's going to be super tasty, because it's a fascinating battle on the track, and now they're beginning to go to war off it as well, which is how classic rivalries tend to pan out. You think about Williams and Ferrari, you think about McLaren versus Ferrari, and all the other great teams way back when. It's just part and parcel of the game, isn't it? It's the way things are done in Formula 1. Mercedes have lost the lead in both championships because it was a great day for Red Bull. Sergio Perez jumping ahead of Lewis Hamilton and picking up P4. Super for Sergio, considering his Saturday was a bit rubbish and he only ended up 9th on the grid. But it's good strategy, running long and taking advantage of Mercedes dropping the ball. And that is what's going to win Red Bull the World Championship, because so often Mercedes have dropped the ball and finished 2nd or 3rd or 4th. Today they dropped the ball and they had one car out of the race and one car in the bottom half of the points, while both Red Bulls were in the top 4. So good from Red Bull, considering they had to bounce back from their strategic blunder of their own from Spain, and more impressive because they managed to jump Perez 5 places up the order. So well done to Red Bull. But for Mercedes, it's time to go back to Brackley, lick their wounds, come back fighting in Baku. Let's have a look at the midfield now. There wasn't really much of a midfield because Ferrari were actually at the front, picking up the pole position with Charles Leclerc and a 2nd place with Carlos Sainz on a Sunday. And they were outstanding from the get-go. They topped FP2. Carlos was setting purple sectors everywhere in FP1, despite Sergio Perez actually running the soft tyres and being fastest in the first practice. Then they still looked the real deal on Saturday morning, picked up the pole position. And to be fair, Carlos could have won the race because he was closing in on Verstappen, and had Verstappen picked up the pace and made a mistake, then it was Carlos's race to lose. And it helps them close the gap on McLaren a little bit because they had a non-score and a 3rd place for Lando Norris. So the bizarre lack of pace for Daniel Ricciardo left him 12th, kind of in the middle of nowhere, and that will need some deep analysis. Lando's 3rd place, some brilliant consolation, to be fair. It's a massive achievement, and their car looked beautiful on track, didn't it? I mean, wow. Please keep that livery. That was amazing. AlphaTauri, Pierre Gasly picked up solid points with 6th place, but again, only one car scoring. Esteban Ocon bagged a pair of points for Alpine, so a little bit more progress for them. But the standout team of the midfield, after McLaren and Ferrari sort of disappeared up the road into the front pack, was Aston Martin, picking up double points finish. The pair of Sebastian Vettel and Lance Stroll, they really stood out in the midfield. Vettel's pace was quietly strong all weekend, and he made Q3 for the 2nd time this year. Lance qualified 11th, started on the hard tyres and ran long, and they executed the strategy. They jumped Gasly and Hamilton with Sebastian with well-timed in-laps and a very good pit stop, while Lance was very consistent on his way to picking up P8, despite a little scare of an investigation into potentially crossing the white line on pit exit. Lance did get the unenviable tag of being the guy who ruined the on-track battle between Vettel and Gasly, but that wasn't his fault. That was the TV director just choosing to cut to that replay when there was actual action on the track, which was stupid of them. But anyway, good day for Aston Martin, who have stuttered in their new guys. Solid points, and it moves them nicely up the order in the midfield. Now they need to build on this. How they'll go at Baku will be interesting to see. Lance has performed well in there in the past, as has Sebastian, and the Silverstone-based team have had some good results there too. They've had a couple of podiums with their former driver Sergio Perez. Let's just recap the rest of the field then. It was a good weekend for Alfa Romeo as they picked up their 1st points of the year, which they actually managed to keep, even though they picked up points in Imola but then were demoted with a time penalty. It was Giovinazzi who picked up that point, who made Q3 for the first time, while Kimi Raikkonen finished behind his Italian teammate in 11th. The Alphas performed well on the streets of Monaco. Can they translate that into Baku? Fernando Alonso, 2-time winner around Monte Carlo, qualifying 17th. Ran long and came home for a pretty unremarkable 13th ahead of the 2 Williams drivers, who unfortunately were unable to score on Williams' 750th Grand Prix. The 2nd AlphaTauri of Yuki Tsunoda, he fell out in Q1, finished 16th again despite running longer than anybody else, just couldn't make up the ground. And Haas pair of Nikita Mazepin and Mick Schumacher finished 17th and 18th. They were like 3 laps down by the end, and think every time we saw them, they were cutting the seafront chicane because they were trying to get out of the way. Kind of sums up where Haas are with their car and with their drivers. Mazepin out qualifying his teammate kind of by default because Schumacher crashed at the end of FP3, and he actually beat his teammate on the road for the first time this season. So that's one up for Nikita. And some standout performers then for me. Antonio Giovinazzi. Not a big fan of Giovinazzi, leaves a lot to be desired, but he made Q3, picked up a point for 10th, job well done, and beginning to look a lot more effective in that seat, especially with his drive in the balance. Sebastian Vettel, he scored his first points of the year and displayed all the skills of a seasoned pro around the streets of Monaco. Carlos Sainz, his pace was superb all weekend and perhaps was more impressive than Charles Leclerc for my money because he just kept doing it. Charles had his problem in FP1 with the gearbox and then didn't take the start after obviously crashing. Carlos, though, thoroughly deserved a P2. His Saturday wasn't quite so kind to him, but Sunday worked out in his favour. And last but not least, Nikita Mazepin. He didn't crash at all from Thursday to Sunday. That earns a round of applause. Well done, Nikita. So there you have it. There is my review of the Monaco Grand Prix. Not the greatest Grand Prix in Monaco ever, or in Formula 1 ever, which is a shame, but we'll move on. Baku, hopefully, will have something special in store for us. And as the great Murray Walker said, anything can happen in Formula 1, and it usually does. So brace yourselves for Baku. That's all for today. Thanks for watching. Leave a like if you enjoyed the video. Subscribe if you're new. Check out my other content. And check out follow me on Twitter at 5_red_lights. Follow me on Instagram, 5redlights. And I'll leave some more links in the description down below. Remember, kind is king. And Max Verstappen was king around Monaco. My name's Aaron. This has been the 5 Red Lights. When the 5 red lights go out, I'll see you next time.